Why is it that Australia, a continent that is so vast that it ranks as the sixth largest country in the world, continues to have such a low population density that its interior feels more like a wilderness than a nation? The fact that 95% of the country appears to be empty is not simply a function of geography. Rather, it is a complicated narrative that is weaved from climate, history, culture, and economy. A striking contrast may be seen between the sheer vastness of Australia and the dispersal of its population. The country has a total land area of 7.7 million square kilometers, and its population density is just about 3.4 people per square kilometer. This population density places it among the nations with the lowest population density in the world. Almost all of Australia's population resides in the bustling cities that are located around the coasts, leaving the great majority of the country, which is composed of grasslands, deserts, and bush, essentially deserted. Why is this the case? And is there any possibility that it could ever change? To begin, the story begins with the distinctive topography and climate of Australia. A large portion of the interior, which is referred to as the Outback, is dry or semi-dry. Deserts, such as the Simpson and the Great Victoria, as well as extensive swaths of dry plains, make up the majority of the prevailing landscape features. The amount of rainfall that occurs in these locations is extremely low, with some localities recording less than 250 millimeters on an annual basis. The combination of the sweltering heat of summer and the frigid temperatures of winter makes it difficult to survive, let alone to establish and maintain healthy communities. The potential for agricultural production on the land is directly impacted by this environment. The soil in a considerable portion of the Outback is deficient in nutrients, and it frequently necessitates significant intervention in order to sustain even the most fundamental crops. Throughout the course of history, attempts to cultivate land in these regions have frequently been unsuccessful due to the fact that droughts and soil erosion render agriculture unsustainable. There has never been a chance that these regions will ever be settled on a significant scale because they lack the capacity to cultivate cropland or access reliable water sources. In 1788, when British colonists landed in the Americas, they naturally gravitated toward regions that had climates that were more mild and fields that were more fertile. As a result of its moderate climate, natural harbors, and reasonably fertile land, the southeastern coast became the principal focus of colonization efforts. Initially founded as a prison colony, Sydney rapidly developed into a major urban hub after its establishment. Following in their footsteps were cities such as Melbourne, Brisbane, and Adelaide, all of which were strategically positioned along the coasts, where circumstances were more pleasant. The concentration on coastal villages laid the groundwork for the dispersal of the population, which continues to this day. The establishment of these regions as centers of economic and social activity was facilitated by the construction of early infrastructure, which included roads, schools, hospitals, and ports within these areas. On the other hand, the interior was either completely disregarded or completely disregarded as inappropriate for significant growth. Indigenous Australians have flourished across the continent for tens of thousands of years, exhibiting a remarkable capacity for adaptation to the difficult environment that they lived in. On the other hand, colonizers failed to take into account their environmentally friendly practices since they lacked the expertise and resources necessary to make the interior viable. During the course of Australia's economic development, the gap between the interior and the coast became increasingly wide. Cities such as Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth were the epicenters of the development of modern sectors such as banking, education, healthcare, and technology. Even resource-intensive industries such as mining, which are frequently situated in remote places, rely on a workforce strategy that involves fly-in, fly-out operations. Taking this method reduces the necessity of establishing permanent settlements, resulting in mining towns functioning more as transient centers than as vibrant communities. Coastal cities are becoming increasingly populated as a result of urbanization policies. A large number of individuals all throughout the world, including Australians, are lured to the chances and conveniences that city living offers. Cities provide better access to employment opportunities, educational opportunities, entertainment opportunities, and medical services. On the other hand, rural and distant areas, despite their naturally beautiful and culturally diverse landscapes, frequently lack these services. The attractiveness of contemporary urban living continues to contribute to the current imbalance in population distribution in Australia. This problem is made even more complicated by the fact that climate change is occurring. The effects of global warming, which include higher temperatures, more frequent and severe droughts, and increased dangers of bushfires, are especially prevalent in Australia, which is particularly prone to these effects. As a result of these changes, the outback becomes even less hospitable, and metropolitan areas are put under further pressure as a greater number of people migrate toward the coasts in search of stability and opportunities. Additionally, playing a crucial role is the conservation of the environment. The nation of Australia has established national parks, wildlife reserves, and heritage areas to save significant amounts of its land cover. A significant number of the ecosystems and species that are protected in these places are those that are found nowhere else on the planet. As an illustration, the Great Barrier Reef and the Daintree Rainforest are both treasures that are recognized on a global scale and have been protected from the effects of industrial development. Because of the efforts that are being made to safeguard these lands, human settlement in particular regions is restricted, which contributes to the feeling of emptiness. Nevertheless, the cultural value of the land to Indigenous Australians cannot be emphasized. This is something that cannot be overlooked. Their profound spiritual and ancestral ties to these areas have played a significant role in shaping their appeals for environmental preservation and respect. This perspective is in line with global initiatives to prioritize environmental stewardship, which means that it further restricts the development of large-scale projects in the interior of Australia. The difficulties that arise from the dispersal of this population are becoming more and more obvious. Overpopulation, increased housing costs, and strain on infrastructure are all challenges that coastal cities like Sydney and Melbourne must contend with. Around the same time, rural and distant communities frequently face difficulties due to a lack of investment and fundamental services. A crucial topic is brought to light by the disparity. Is it possible for Australia to strike a balance between its expanding metropolitan population and the promise of its vast interior? Technological advancements could be able to provide some of the solution. Projects that generate renewable energy, in particular solar and wind farms, are currently being investigated in remote areas. These projects offer a method to harness the potential of the outback without causing any disruption to its delicate ecosystem. Innovations in water management, such as desalination facilities and efficient irrigation systems, have the potential to make interior areas more livable as well. On the other hand, these advances call for a substantial amount of investment and political determination, and it is possible that they will not be able to completely overcome the cultural predilection for the seaside lifestyle. However, the emptiness that exists in Australia is not only an issue that needs to be solved. In addition to this, it is a defining trait of the identity of the country. A source of astonishment, the vast, unspoiled wilderness of the outback is a symbol of resiliency and independence, despite its lack of human intervention. As a result of its influence on the arts, literature, and movies, it has become an indispensable component of the narrative of the nation. For many people, the emptiness is a treasure rather than a deficiency. It serves as a reminder of the power that nature possesses and the insignificance of human desire in comparison to the grandeur of nature. So, is it true that Australia is empty? The answer is contingent on one's point of view. In the eyes of some, the land that is not populated is a symbol of potential, which includes possibilities for growth, creativity, and new ways of living. It is a sanctuary, a location that should be preserved rather than populated, according to some people. It is abundantly evident that the emptiness of 95% of Australia is more than a geographical anomaly. It is a reflection of the country's history, challenges, and ideals, and it will continue to impact the future of the country in ways that are both practical and deep. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.